Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have Chip Hopper, the Book Jedi, here with us today. And we're going to share about just what he's all about, but also how he got involved with extreme focus coaching and how that's helped him in his business. So I'm first going to introduce you, Chip, because it's such a great bio and what you've done. And there's like this only touches like a fraction of who Chip is, but Chip is mostly known as the Book Jedi, a master storyteller and a 10-figure builder. He helps top celebrities, athletes, and executives craft and amplify their Jedi stories, turning influence into purpose. And Chip runs global retreats, masterminds that are focused on personal development, biohacking, and artificial intelligence, encouraging participants to explore their purpose and build impactful networks. He has spoken to over 1 million people live and has been featured in major publications like Forbes and Entrepreneur Weekly. And the best thing about Chip is he is an amazing friend and super fun and a great dancer. So I'm going to add those things because those are the things I love about Chip. But I'm super excited to have you on and to just even I feel like I've known you for years, but I get to learn more about you here. So let's just hop into, we're kind of focused on the extreme focus, but I do want to hear more about your business and everything. But let's just hear about how you ended up initially getting the certification and what you've done with it so far.
Yeah, I remember. So I met Dave when he first moved to Utah, and we ended up at the gym at the same time, going through kind of a welcome. It wasn't. I'd been a gym member for a long time, but they were doing an activity where people could come and kind of see some of the things that were going on, and so I actually met his wife Kathy and his son Daniel in hot yoga, where I sweat quite a bit. And yeah, it was one of the first times I'd done hot yoga. And when I got in there, like I was thinking, hey, this is pretty cool. It's like for hot people. And then when I realized it was just the temperature of the room, I'm like, well.
Uh, I
But yeah,
guess
I
I'll
came out
try
of
it.
that quite sweaty and met Dave for the first time. And he said something along the lines of, oh, I didn't know there was a place or part of this was to jump in the pool. And but it turned into a great friendship. So my relationship with Extreme Focus started as a friendship with Dave and Kathy and the Austins. And Dave very quickly grew into someone that we would I both learned from, and we would learn and teach together in kind of this mutual learning space. And I got to know about the extreme focus model and framework, and that is a key part of what I love is frameworks. Right?
Mm.
When I was in the '90s, I worked with Stephen Covey, and really fell in love with frameworks and the power that frameworks bring to you. You know, the 7 habits of highly effective people was nothing more than principles that have been around for thousands of years, just organized in a specific way. And it became one of my favorite frameworks. And the same thing with extreme focus. Extreme focus is a framework that helps you approach life, helps you approach problems and decisions. And when I find good frameworks like that, I love to go through those programs and learn about them. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to go through the Extreme Focus program and to learn with Dave on those the beast triggers and all the other parts of Extreme Focus that make it so powerful. And I was blessed as well to be able to learn from Dave on principles and things that you can teach things for years or even decades. You can write books about them, and you can still learn more from people from the different perspectives they bring.
I love that. The 7 habits is like the backbone of my whole coaching world and what I do. But what I really love about what you said is just how you met the Austins and how you kind of just got brought in. And I really want to bring that. I think one of the greatest things about just being in Dave Austin's world is that you almost become family. And that's what I've seen with all these different people I've interviewed with. With you, I've just watched, he's such a warm person, but he brings people in and you become part of his inner circle and principles. You'll learn these beast mode methods or game ready focus stuff. Like you'll learn those things, but the frequency of being in his world and the benefits of that, I'd really love for you to just share what that's like, because I know
Yeah,
it's quite magical.
absolutely. And that is one of the things that is so meaningful to me with Dave and with Kathy and their kids. Um, Being around the right people makes all the difference in the world. The way you think, the people you hang out with, the actions that you choose to do, what you think is possible, it all begins with who you surround yourself with. And Dave and Kathy are just people that you want to be in that type of frequency, that type of um, belief system. Uh, you know, I was fortunate too to be brought in like family. You know, I look a little bit like their oldest son, and we used to joke around that when I was there, he wasn't there, and when he was there, I wasn't there. It was like this thing where we're like, is the time going to break apart if we end up in the same space at the same time, right? But Kathy has always called me Sonny, and it's always felt like family with them. And you know, when it comes to connections and relationships, uh, you're always one away from that connection, that person, that next thing that's going to elevate your life and move you up. And I remember, I can't remember what year it was, but Dave called me up and he's like, "Hey, you want to come down to spring training and meet a couple of my clients?" And I flew down and with Josh and the three of us just had this fantastic time meeting amazing people. They walked us, you know, right back to Ben Zobrist, who I met for the first time at that spring training, and Ben has become just an amazing friend. And it's those types of relationships that you just um, they change your life and they move you forward. And that to me is my favorite thing about Dave is his heart and the people that he just lovingly that gravitate to his circle. You know, I look at people and I see that there are people that are heart centered, and then there are people that have done, you know, significant things in their life. And I like to combine finding those things. So it's heart centered significance, right? And that's what Dave is, and that's what the people that he surrounds himself are. There are a lot of people that have done incredible things, but their heart just isn't necessarily where you want as someone that's close to you. There are people that their heart's in a great place, but they just haven't taken action to make things happen. But if you can find those things together, then you are finding the circle of people that you really want to help build and make change with. And Dave and the Extreme Focus program, all the people that I've met through that program have just been incredible. We still meet uh, every couple weeks, and those meetings that we have with that Extreme Focus group, it's a group of people that all think at a higher level. And so when you bring a problem to that group or something, a challenge that you're facing or something that you want to move forward, the insights are just priceless.
Hmm. Amazing. Yeah, that's the most amazing thing about Dave. The last weekend he was in Hollywood. Next weekend he's speaking at the White House. And like through him, he's got a connection to basically anyone that's influential through like 1 degree, of connection. What is so unique about him is how heart-centered he is. Like there's a lot of really influential or powerful people in the world, how deeply centered he is. I know I've been so disillusioned in the coaching industry or in the personal development industry of people that are claiming a lot of things and not actually doing them, or they're doing them, but they don't have that heart. That was what, just as soon as I met him, I was like, oh, this is someone I want to be around. This is someone I want to learn from, because he has a strong marriage and family. He has like real live clients that he's making huge impact for, helping people win the World Series or win Olympic gold medals or make millions of dollars, like really, really huge impact. It's a very unique. I've looked for a very long time to find someone that's just really has all the parts that make a whole coach. And so it's a really neat experience to be in his presence. And it's really beautiful how close you become. Not everyone that does the extreme focus coaching program is going to be called like Sunny by Kathy or be like hanging out all the time at their house, but there is a warmth with them that you do feel like family when you just meet them. Like they're just such warm and beautiful people. So,
But
um,
I will say you will be surprised at how much of family you become with the group,
yeah,
and just how many times you do hang out at the house. So,
yeah, just so open-hearted.
but the way that it impacts my life is I work with people who are wanting to tell their stories, wanting to write their processes, their frameworks. And when I can connect things from the extreme focus framework into what they're doing in their books, or how it impacts their lives, right? So what I found that's really interesting being a ghostwriter for top celebrities and authors and others is that we all we all don't have a clue, right? Like we're all seeking for answers. We're all, no matter what level it's at. Like I've worked with the top people in the world as clients, and they still, they still put their pants on the same way. They still like tie their tie their shoes, and they deal with the issues no matter where we are in life. We have these questions of, am I good enough? What am I doing next? Why am I here? Like all these questions really are universal, right? And the more that I work with people, the more that I see those things, and tools like the working with the extreme focus program, um, to tie those to animals, to tie emotions and feelings to those animals, and to be able to sit there, and when you come up to someone who is having a challenge or an issue, and you can immediately think of the animal trigger that is going to potentially make a difference there, and you can share that. Our minds work in pattern recognition, and they connect us to different visuals and things. And I tell you, it's much more powerful to all of a sudden have a blue whale pop into your mind than it is to have a couple of words pop into your mind, right? And you can think about abundance and those things, and you just, the visual of that, um, doorway to unlimited possibilities with the, like it's just so much more powerful to picture it in a visual than it is to just try and think of words, because our minds really don't think in terms of words. They think in terms of pictures.
Right? Like if you, I kind of geek out on brain science. And when I learned this, I was like, oh
What,
my
you?
gosh, this is brilliant. Like this is exactly how the brain works. And to
Yeah.
just like we learn about it and we entrain it and we bring it into our body. And then you just see one picture and instantly you can be into that state of mind and that embodiment of a new frequency. It's really incredible. It's powerful, right?
And the process that Dave uses and teaches, it, what I really love about Dave is he has, through intuition and just
Uh,
connection to whatever you want to call it, source or God or the universe or energy, or whatever you want to call it. Dave has this connection that he just gets how things fit together, and it's been really fun to learn with him and from him about these things. That on the other side, I'm working with authors who are on the science of this, like a dear friend, Stephen Kotler, who approaches all this from a very scientific side and comes to the same conclusion that Dave comes through intuition, right?
yeah.
So to see these things come together, and to see this awareness that that just continues to get backed up by science, has been really fun over the years to watch that.
Yeah. The event you did with Steven Kotler and Dave Austin was just so epic because it was joining these two humans that explain the same thing in such different ways, but truth is truth, right? And yeah, that has been absolutely life-changing, learning how to tune in and trust, uh, the white light, the divine, the Christ consciousness, whatever you call it, like you said, but it's really incredible to be in, Dave's presence and to learn from him and read his books and just see, how that can shift things and give you so much more, strength, power, influence, all the things that make a bigger influence. But I want to ask for if you have like a specific story or instance where you use the techniques and specifically like it impacted one of your clients. Do you have a good story for us? I love stories. And that's why because you tell stories all the time.
It is always a significant impact to sit with Dave and the extreme focus, um, what do you want to call us,
Process.
community, tribe, like whatever, right? Uh, but it is a room full of titans, right? Like we talk about Dave and the amazing things he's done, but the most impactful thing about extreme focus is that you're surrounded by Daves. like like everyone that you talk to is just at the top and the pinnacle of what is being happening in their space. And you know, whether it's in sports or politics or other things, right? Like you know, we had a presidential candidate at his home several years ago, and to sit there with 20 other people or 75, or I don't remember how many we had at that one, but still it still feels very intimate, right? It's bringing together these fantastic people at this level. um, but when it comes to like the coaching of the program, for me anyway, the biggest impact has been as a as a learner. So uh, Dave, I actually was a coaching client of Dave's in addition to being part of Extreme Focus, and seeing him use the Extreme Focus principles and framework actually really helped move me. I've never really told this story, and I'm trying to think how much of it to share here because it's pretty close and personal. But um, I was in a relationship that was struggling, and was trying to find both myself and the path forward with this relationship. And I had a coaching session with Dave, and we were sitting on his back patio, and we spent a couple of hours kind of um, connecting into myself on bringing myself to the space of peace and of understanding, and knowing that I could step back and see this relationship and see it clearly and see how I was centered with or without that relationship, and that I could choose into what was valuable for me, but knowing that I was at the center of it. And the interesting thing, I don't think anyone really knows this part of it, but while I was with Dave in that coaching session, I was not aware of what was going on back at my home, but she was actually packing everything up. She had brought over like a couple dozen people to the home and had loaded, you know, well, loaded pretty much everything into a U-Haul and left while I was at Dave's in the session. And I came home to um, my son, who was then there alone and very heartbroken because none of this was like
Well,
was anticipated, if you will. And I know that that session with Dave had put me in a space of being able to walk into that situation in acceptance and support, and to be able to be there in love for my son, even though it was also a devastating moment. Not just to have her gone, but also to have just like holes in the wall where TVs had been and things like that. And like, like it's just like, a complete unexpected thing. And I know that there were a lot of things going on for her, and I'm not here to like put blame on one side or the other. And we obviously we all remember our stories differently. Um, and there are things that are drivers and motivators that we see that the others don't always see. But I know that that session with Dave, that coaching session with Dave, was a big part of me being able to handle that in a way that is remembered in a positive light. My actions were, I can look back at my actions and think, um, be happy with the way that I responded, right? There are always times in your life that you look back and you're like, oh my goodness, you're like, I mean, even now, like 30 years later, there are certain experiences where I'm like, I still am like, oh, I'm embarrassed,
Yeah.
like want to walk away because of something a stupid way I acted or whatever else, right? But I was so centered from that session with Dave that I was able to move into that in a very beautiful way for what was actually happening. And
Wow,
um,
that's
I'll
good.
forever be grateful to Dave for that, and to what um, I was able to work through with both my son and with my now then or my then former partner. I don't know, with my no longer partner.
Wow. Well, first, thank you so much for sharing, and it really shows the power of coaching, of having support, of being able to show up in really hard situations and be proud of how you showed up. And that's really beautiful that you had that support, and also just highlights how intuitive Dave is, like of all days to do that one
Mhm.
session, just the magic of it, it's really beautiful. So thank you for sharing. And I think it really also shows that this program, there's a lot of people that are like, is it just for coaches? Like, I'm not really a coach, but I have a business, or I really want to just learn for my own sake of learning. There's a lot of just growth and learning that can happen through doing the program. And it's not necessarily just for coaches. Like, you're, of course, coaching the people that you're helping write best-selling books, and people at your transformational retreats and those kind of things. So I'm sure you use them to a certain extent, but it's really like just the embodiment of it, and so that you can show up in ways in all situations that you can be proud of, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because you know writing these books often, the interviews and those things often turn into coaching sessions actually. So people will be sharing their stories or why certain principles are important, and things will come up for them that we often work through. So it becomes very much high-end coaching. And I have many clients who are like, wow, that was like one of the best coaching sessions I've ever had. And I'm like, yeah, well, now I'm going to go write a book. So I'm like doing two things for the price of one, right? So I'm like, I'm coaching and then putting it into a story. So it's been a fun evolution to watch that develop. But absolutely, frameworks like extreme focus have been a huge part of me being able to help lead others to see clearly their lives, to attach to things that are valuable. One of the things that I often teach is that better questions lead to better lives. And we our lives are defined by the stories we tell, right?
Mm.
And the better the better you can tell your story, the better your life will be. So there are things that you know uh, and some people they are challenged by this thought, but the you that exists only in your mind. The you that I know is a different person, so it becomes almost this multiverse, because every person that knows you knows a different version of you. It's the only version they know. And you made a comment earlier that truth is truth, and I actually challenge that. I believe truth is relative to your own perceptions, right? And so that's why when I can look at an experience and say, this is the way that I perceived it, but that doesn't mean that it was perceived that way by someone else. Very rarely do people wake up and want to be the villain in their own story, but we can't control who makes us the villain in their story.
Yeah. One of my
So,
favorite communication patterns is to come to a difficult conversation with, "This is my illusion.
oh,
My illusion is," and rather than, because it really is. It's just like we're all in total illusion. Like, the stories we make up are really quite amazing, and they're creating our reality. And so, how powerful that you pull people's stories out. But do you find that when you're pulling people's stories out, you are able to help them see that the more empowering spin, or do people come to you with those empowering spins already? By the time someone's ready to write a book, are they already like, I
no,
figured it out? I don't know.
I I love that question so much, and I've actually found that no matter how unprepared or prepared you feel about writing before you write, it always changes you when you actually put it down. When you take those stories and you structure them and you write them and you start to place them together and go, this led to this created this, it becomes this powerful journey. And that's that's actually where the name Book Jedi comes from. Jedi is an acronym for a book's journey of evolution, disruption, and impact. And that
Mm,
has to do with both the author and the reader. And so often people that want to write a book come in with this idea that they want to change lives of others, right? They're like, I'm going to write this story because it's going to change this person's life. I'm going to write this because it's going to change this life. I said, let's step back and let's write it for you, right? And and if you can write a book that changes you as you write it, then it's going to resonate with other people. And the thing that most resonates with people is when they can take and hear your story and see their story. And
mm,
the way that that happens the most is when you allow your own story to come out fully, instead of trying to think, how can I write this for someone else, to truly dive in and explore for yourself. And when it comes to the coaching side of it, when you mentioned, are they ready? Like, to me, the best coaches are able to help you find the answers in yourself. I believe we all have the answers, right? And if you go back to the belief of energy, which I believe energy is neither created nor destroyed, it only changes, right? That means that everything that has happened, everything that will happen, everything you've thought, everything you will think already exists in the energy. And Kathy Austin actually has a great analogy for this, where she's like, I see a conveyor belt that goes around and it has thoughts and ideas on it, and all you have to do is reach up and take that down, right? And if you don't take it down, then it'll be there for someone else to take down. And I have a similar view of it, of these beliefs and thoughts that we have are almost like this cloud of energy around us. And when we can turn them into power is when we can take these thoughts and make them into words that you actually that solidify kind of that thought into something more tangible. Thoughts become things is a very common saying, and I really see that in books, when with authors as well.
oh, I love that. In Big Magic, she talks about that, how ideas will, like, if you don't grasp onto it, it'll go to someone else. And I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have
Mm-hmm.
the craziest stories about that. So I'm a total believer in that idea. But also that, this, I love how you brought this up, how often we get stuck in the drama triangle where it's like we're either the savior and someone else is the victim, and we have to save them from the perpetrator. And we kind of we feel all good when we're the savior, or the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then we feel bad for the person that's and we feel and it's really just one big triangle that you just have to get out of. And the way you get out of it is just coming back into self and real love and that kind of thing. But what you're saying is like you're taking the authors that are coming in as, in the drama triangle, and you're bringing them out into a space of like pure connection. And the first connection that's to be made is with yourself, right? That's really beautiful. I love that. And it's like the you can, I find that with true principles, you can, if you see it one place, you can see it everywhere. But it totally applies in book writing, and it totally applies in coaching, and it applies in life in general. But that's a really beautiful thing. I love that. How, just tell me what you're up to. Like, I want to hear what are your projects that you're working on, and how do people get to in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, my name is Chip Hopper, and that's pretty much my um, I don't
Website.
know if you call it a handle or what you call it, but that's pretty much anywhere you look. LinkedIn, Instagram, all those places. I even chiphopper.com is a place you can connect with me as well. Um, but yeah, I love connecting with people that are wanting to make difference, or make a difference, or have made a difference. People often say that they want to be surrounded by authentic people, but typically what that means is they want to be surrounded with people who are authentically like them, right? Um, but I love to be around people that have good hearts, that are deep thinkers, and I actually enjoy being with people who think differently than I do, because it challenges the way I think. Um, but yeah, always looking to connect with people, to hear the way that they perceive things. I'm writing. I've been writing for 30 years, and I don't have my name on a book for myself yet. And so I'm actually working on a couple of books that will be coming out this year with
Mm.
my name on them. So stepping out from behind the Oz curtain a little bit to write some of my own things, instead of continually quoting myself with other people's names.
Amazing. What's the title of your books?
Yeah, so I one of the books is Rabbit Holes All the Way Down, and it has to do with the sacred rabbits that we hold, our beliefs and things that we believe are helping us, but in actuality might be holding us back from seeing and connecting with others. And so it's a parable, and uses many analogies of how we work with those taboo topics. So that's one of those. And how do we have conversations around taboo topics and actually move forward instead of polarizing?
We needed this book printed last year. This is election year, Chip. Like,
I know. I look at it,
we
I'm
need
like,
your
can I
book.
still can I still get it out and make an impact before the election? Because I see so much of that, right? Like
Seriously.
when it comes to politics, and we have topics like politics and religion and intimacy, and things like that people feel uncomfortable talking about, to the point that those that do talk about it are often on these fringes, and it becomes like, yeah, I don't want to like interact with that. And what happens is, especially like with politics, for example, if we everybody that is the majority, that doesn't want to be like a fringe speaker, sits in the space where they watch the two ends like battle it out, of this is the only two areas. And if we can actually learn how to speak about these things without that conflict, we can I think a lot of us are more moderate than either party is out there right now in America, right? um, so yeah, it could have done really well to come out a year ago, but I'm hoping it comes out here soon. But
Hurry
the other
up.
book that the other book that I'm working on is called Truth is Relative, and it really is about being able to change the way you perceive life. Um, I was heavily involved in both a book and a movie called Perception: Seeing is Not Believing, and really working with perception and how we see the world. And if you can take your truths and really challenge them and say, some of my favorite questions are, is this true? Is this really
Absolutely
true?
true. Yeah.
And is this belief serving me? Right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you think it's true or not, if it's not serving you to have that belief, right? Um, you know, like walking around saying, doesn't matter what happens, something always comes up to get in my way, right? Like you will manifest that truth because not necessarily anything, even just as basic as just what you choose to see and what you choose to focus on, right?
Mm.
if if you believe that a problem is always going to come up, you're going to find that problem wherever you go,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so truth is relative is about being able to shift how you see things to create the life that you want, right?
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in that. I play around a lot with the concept of choosing love over fear and looking at fear and realizing that our fears are such liars that are actually the truth is the exact flip of it. So, like,
mhm,
when we have a fearful thought, we can literally just go, "Is that true? Absolutely true, no." And then you flip the thought it completely on its head, and you're like, "Is that more true?" Yeah, it's way more true, like, almost every time. It's just so amazing to me how, like, we are creating our own reality from our thoughts,
yep,
and like, I'm a huge believer in believing the things that give me the most joy. Like,
yep. and
I I
you know,
believe I
and
can do that.
multiple things can be true at the same time, and true and not true depending on how you look at them, right? Like one of my favorite ones to speak about is the sun. And when we talk about the sun from the perspective of standing on the planet, we can say, well, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. But if you're not standing on this planet, that is not at all what it looks like, right? And so that's not the way you would describe the truth. In fact, that would sound not true from a different perspective. So
Yeah. Well, we went down a rabbit hole, so
yes, we did.
that's being with Chip. You go down rabbit holes. It's a great thing, and I love that your book is and, anyway, it's just so lovely being with you. Thank you so much. Can we, wrap it up by who would you recommend the Extreme Focus Coaching Program to?
Yeah, I would recommend the Extreme Focus program. Wow. To anybody who wants to level up the people that they have in their network, that wants to move themselves forward in a space with high impact, good mindset individuals that really are out there making a positive impact in the world. So anyone who is in a space that they're ready to take their journey to a higher level, you should be in extreme focus, because I guarantee that you will elevate your life by being part of this community and part of this program.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It starts October 11th, and we're starting at this beautiful estate that Chip spent so much time at and that we were talking about, but it's in Holiday, Utah, and it's 3 days of just being around the most incredible human beings, former extreme focus coaches and new ones. And then it's a 6 month journey of meeting with Dave every week on a live Zoom call and learning the information online and in the group, and then again coming together. And it just shows how much Dave emphasizes the importance of personal connection, because we're doing a whole nother graduation retreat at the end
Mm-hmm.
where we come together in person
Mm-hmm.
April 11th. So it's going to be magnificent. Really want to invite you to check it out on extremefocus.com/certification. And again, Chip, thank you so much for being with us today. You're just so awesome.
And just another plug for Extreme Focus. I always have multiple events that are happening, and you have to make choices of where you're going to be. But Extreme Focus is right at the top. In fact, in October, I have two speaking opportunities and another high impact event that I'm turning down to be at Extreme Focus. And that when you can see that people that are coming to extreme focus where they prioritize it with, because everyone in that room has multiple high level opportunities during that week,
Yeah.
and they are all choosing to come. All of the alumni that are going to be there. It's just going to be a room that is just, if you want a single set of like 3 days that just changes your life, it's going to be those right there. And then to add in 6 months of working with Dave, yeah, it's a game changer.
Thank you. I am so excited for it, and I'm so glad you're gonna be there despite all the other offers. That's, yeah, when you've got lots going on, you got lots going on, but choosing in is gonna be life-changing. So, yeah, thank you so much, and, we'll see you soon, Chip.
All right.
Okay,
Maybe this
bye.
week.